I'm Dr. Rachel Griffiths. I'm with my father and partner in aquatics.
Dr. Tom Griffiths.
Welcome to the Drowning Files, where each week we share a lawsuit we've been involved in or another true story with suggestions to learn from these tragedies to save lives. What case do you have today?
This case is a really old case, but it's a horrific case that is noteworthy, and I should talk about it. I haven't spoken about this case in a long time because it's so old, but at a recent conference, I met a good friend of mine, and he was overseeing this pool, one of many pools in the Northeast. And as soon as I saw him and we exchanged pleasantries, it just jogged my memory that even though we're great friends and close colleagues, it was his pool that involved this lawsuit, and I was the expert witness for the plaintiffs in this case. So, what we had at a municipal outdoor pool during the summertime was what we called at Penn State a special populations session, where at this pool during the mornings, several mornings, I think it was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, special needs persons would come in with physical and emotional, perhaps mental disabilities, and one-on-one, which is the good news, work in the water and get some aquatic therapy. And it was fairly well organized. Each individual who had special needs had an individual instructor dedicated to each and every person, and there were lifeguards on duty. And so this class started around 9 o'clock in the morning, and at one point there was a young woman in the pool who was very seriously disabled. She was nonverbal, had little motor control, and she was in the water, and her instructor, her counselor, was facing her in the water while she was sitting on the edge of the pool. And what she did was, and I hope I can describe this adequately to you, is the young woman was facing her, her student was in the water, the instructor was sitting on the edge of the pool, and she got close to her student and placed her feet in her armpits. And what she started doing was using her legs to hoist up this student and drop her back down in the water, hoist her up, kind of like a seesaw, a playground seesaw where you go up and down, up and down. And the instructor was enjoying doing this. But this young woman, who was her student and severely disabled, was not able to close her mouth. And so the instructor kept lifting up this child. And when I say child, it was a minor, but an older minor, teenage years, brought her up out of the water and then brought her down into the water. And the more vigorously she did this, the deeper she plunged this adapted swimmer underneath the surface of the water. And the student in the water was throwing her head about and throwing her head back, and hair was in her face. And one of the lifeguards astutely said, "This doesn't look right," and walked over to the instructor and said, "Ma'am, I don't think you should be doing that. I'm not so sure she can breathe." And the instructor or the counselor responded, "Oh, no, no, she loves this. She really enjoys this. We do it all the time." And she continued to dunk her now in the water. And as she came up, her head would swing wildly. And again, another lifeguard came over and said, "Ma'am, I don't think you should do that." And the teacher kept doing it and said, no, 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 she's going to be in the Olympics someday. Now, she wasn't saying that in a mean way, I don't think, but she was saying that she enjoyed the water, she liked the water, she's going to be in the Olympics. Anyway, to make a long story short, tragically, this instructor on the side of the pool, believe it or not, drowned that student in the water. Eventually, she became unconscious, and she didn't recover. And so the lifeguards entered the water, they pulled her out, they tried all the resuscitation efforts, but to no avail. And I believe the drowning process was sped up because the victim had her head back and her mouth was open the entire time. And so one of the keys to this case was you had some young teenagers stepping forward to try to curtail and control the activities of an instructor who was an adult, an older adult, and they just didn't have the means to do that. What was absent on the day of this drowning was an older, more mature, experienced, authoritative figure who could have stepped in and said, "Stop doing that. You know, this is my pool. You're under my control. I'm the landlord. That's not safe. Don't do that." And so this was a horrible, horrible tragedy where the individual in charge of this special needs person literally drowned her, literally killed her. And so that's the case I have for you. Of course, the family of the victim received millions, and that's basically it. That's the tragedy that I have today, which I think is significantly different from the others.
It serves as a reminder too that drowning can look different in different situations. Sometimes it's quiet, quick and quiet, and other times you can mistake it for playing, like in this situation. So, keeping an eye out for different behaviors, that drowning doesn't just look one way.
Yeah, every drowning is different, and you make a great point. You know, in this particular case, I don't think we've ever seen a drowning behavior like that. Um, and so that's really, really important. If it doesn't look right, stop it. You know, if you think you saw a mouse, you saw one, and so reaction has to be swift and forceful in this type of situation. And it was just truly unfortunate. But you bring out a good point. Every drowning is different, and we don't agree that it's a good idea to tell people that this is what a drowning looks like, because then the lifeguards or the caregiver creates this mental picture that the observer feels the victim has to fall into that category. So, yeah, if it doesn't look right, step in.